Welcome to Someone's Gotta Drive. I would like to put a trigger warning out there that this podcast does talk about domestic violence, sexual abuse, drug abuse, and other things that may be triggering to some and validating to others. In our last episode, I talk about how after mom died, I got a new job, one that was actually full-time, not where I was working 2-3 jobs to try to make ends meet. And how through that job, I got an offer to come to New Jersey and work for a week. My ex had asked me, "Are you happy to be going?" Yeah, I was happy to be going. I really needed a break. And over the past 5-6 years of our marriage, I had been accused of cheating. I had worked myself tirelessly to the bone to try to appease him financially, emotionally, in any way I could possibly think of. And honestly, no matter what I did, nothing was ever enough. And now I've come to an impasse in my life where, you know, mom's not around anymore. And I'm trying to figure out what's going to make me happy. But every time I try to work hard, do something right, I'm always told I'm the bad guy. In my last episode, I was telling you that I was called a bad wife for not helping prep for a bed bug extermination. And it wasn't that I wasn't helping, it was just that I was working. Meanwhile, my ex-husband, over the past few years, had multiple times relapsed on pills. He did finally get into a methadone outpatient program. We actually had his teeth removed and dentures put in because one of the reasons for him going into the methadone program was because of his teeth and how much pain it was causing him. And it was one of the reasons why he was on like the max dose that you could get. So by this point, I'm just exhausted. I'm exhausted from the year of handling my mother's affairs, getting a new job, trying to prove myself in the real world and prove myself to my ex-husband. We didn't spend time together. What time we did spend together, it was usually him playing video games and me watching something on Netflix. Right before I went to New Jersey for work for the week, my ex-sister-in-law came to stay with us. She was trying to get out of a bad situation, and her dad had said that he would help get her out to Kansas City, close to where he was. She just needed a place to stay for about a week or two until the flight got taken care of. So she stayed with us. And honestly, every morning, every day before work, her brother, my ex-husband, would complain about work all the time. And it was like he hyped himself up before going, and then he would go, and then he would come back from work, and he would complain even more about how horrible it was. And honestly, it didn't matter what restaurant he worked for. It didn't matter where he was. That was just the way of life. And at one point, she even looked at me and said, "I really don't know how you deal with this." But this was the woman who, when we got back together, called me up and said, "You ever hurt him again, I will hunt you down." So I was not about to say anything bad. I just said, "Oh, it's your brother. Just that's the way he is." And that was that. She cut my hair nice and short. I dyed it one final time a nice natural brown color. I went and got my license because, honestly, I lost it. I didn't know where to find it, and I kind of needed it to go get into the hotel room. So I had all my stuff squared away. I got in the car, and I drove to New Jersey. It was the most liberating feeling I had felt in a while. I was so excited. I was being paid to drive. I was getting paid to go work at this new office, to meet new people, to do all the great things that I've been wanting to do. And all those great things were just simply filing paperwork, working 8 to 5, going back to the hotel room, having some dinner, relaxing, But more importantly, I was going to go meet the guy who ended up giving me the job. He was a wonderful person and was actually tasked with making sure I knew how to get to my hotel room and to make sure I knew where to grab something to eat. So, on my way to New Jersey, I remember going up the New Jersey Turnpike, seeing signs for the George Washington Bridge, and thinking, oh crap, I must have missed my exit. I don't want to go into New York City. But he stayed on the phone with me for like an hour trying to calm me down and make sure that I knew and got to where I was going. I mean, I just used Google Maps. Even then, at the time, you could use that. I remember getting to the office around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, absolutely starving, but also terrified for driving in northern New Jersey, handing him the keys to the company vehicle and going, I'm not driving unless it's to the hotel room. I'm done. I'm done. He took me out to get some lunch real quick, got me acclimated with the office, and he stayed there actually the rest of that day. And at the end of the day, he made sure I knew how to get to my hotel room. I got checked in, and I made sure to get a bed with 2 beds in it. I want to be clear. I knew that this guy lived at home with his parents. I also know I'm married, so I'm not exactly trying to have anything happen while I'm on this trip. So there's no sharing a bed here. But if we were drinking or partying for any reason, I wasn't exactly about to send him home to his parents' house drunk. So after we got to the hotel room and I got situated, we went to Miller's Ale House for dinner. The company was paying for dinner, but I told him to pay for the drinks. I didn't think it was right for the company to be paying for alcohol on this trip. And honestly, we just shot the breeze, had a few beers, ate a good meal. I went back to the hotel room that night and just kept talking. He slept in his bed, I slept in mine. We were just 2 friends. The next day, he went and got me some breakfast. I had never had pork roll or Taylor ham, whatever you want to call it, wherever you are in New Jersey. But he got me a Taylor ham, egg and cheese sandwich with some ketchup on it, brought it to my office, made sure I was set for the day, and then went back to his. Got me for lunch again, and at the end of the day, we met at the hotel that I was staying at. And he just looked at me and said, so, what do you want to do today? It was kind of invigorating. I was working my 8 to 5, and honestly, what else am I supposed to do that night? So I said, I wouldn't mind going for a hike. He knew just where to go. And so we went up to the Ramapo region, where he was very familiar with. He used to go to college in the area, and there were some hiking trails that a lot of people had gone to. And so we went up that way. While we were on the hike, it gave us a chance to talk a little bit more about my past and who I am, why I'm so skinny, why I really couldn't wait to get away to New Jersey for a week. And funny enough, everybody who heard I was going to New Jersey was like, really? New Jersey? Why do you want to go there? But honestly, I thought it was the most gorgeous place ever. On our way back down on that hike, some guy actually tried hitting on him. He grabbed a hold of me, acted as if we were an item. The guy finally went away. And then we got back in the car, grabbed something to eat somewhere, and went back to the hotel room. Once again, I couldn't sleep very well. I slept in my bed, he slept in his. I just chatted away until pretty much he fell asleep. I just couldn't sleep. I think I was still too excited about being in New Jersey and being away and just so happy with the way my past 2 days had gone. The next day, I was really supposed to be going home, but I still had a lot of work to do. So I spoke with the owner and I said, you know what? I have a lot of work to do. Instead of leaving today, how about I work like till half a day tomorrow and I'll just leave sometime tomorrow afternoon before the busy traffic rush. And he was like, okay. So that night, I decided I was going to stay late, try to finish up on some work. the guy who had hired me, he said that he had a family function every time before one of his siblings or all of his siblings went back to college. They would have like a family dinner. They would all get together. And then after that, he would come over to the hotel room and spend the rest of the evening with me. I was like, that's fine. I'm really just going to stay late. I'm going to go to the grocery store, grab some crappy Chinese food, and honestly, I'm going to hit up the liquor store. I'm going to grab myself a bottle of whiskey and a bottle of Coke and just kind of see where tonight takes me. And he was like, that sounds great. I will meet you. And there was a thunderstorm that night. And we knew it. They were calling for it. And he said, the first clap of thunder, I promise you, I will leave and come over here. It's like, okay. So it was around 7, 8 o'clock at night. First clap of thunder hit. And sure enough, he came over to the hotel. I had a crush on him. I'm not going to lie. And I kind of thought he liked me too. So I kind of figured, you know what? It's either now or never. If it doesn't happen tonight, it's not going to happen. And I can go back to Maryland and go back to my husband knowing that, well, there isn't anything for me here other than a job. That night, we started drinking. Him Dr. Pepper and Coke and me whiskey and Coke. And honestly, one thing turned into another. And at 3 a.m, when I didn't want to mince words, we did. And sure enough, that time, for real, I did cheat on my husband. It was 7 o'clock the next morning, and all I could think of was, oh my God, I just cheated on my husband. Oh my God, I just had a one-night stand. Oh my God, I had a one-night stand with my boss. How am I supposed to work? How am I supposed to continue? What am I supposed to do? And then something clicked. If this really was a one-night stand, if this was really just a one and done deal, would he really be wrapped all around me? Because that's what it was. I woke up at 7 o'clock that morning and he was completely wrapped around me, holding me tight and asking me not to go. Just stay one more night. Just stay one more night. So, I got showers, got to work. I looked at my workload and said, there's enough here for the day. Called the owner again and said, this time I'll just pay for the hotel room, but I'm just going to go ahead and stay for the day. I don't want to, get stuck in traffic or anything like that. I'm going to work the full day here, so you get your full money's worth. I'll leave sometime tomorrow afternoon. And he was like, okay. I called my ex-husband, gave him another story of, sorry, there's still too much work. I'm going to have to just leave tomorrow. I have to work all day today here. He was like, really? You said that yesterday. Well, you know what? I'm staying. So I got done working that day. We got together again, went out to dinner, came back to the hotel room. And let's say we minced those words again and again. I don't know what I was thinking at this point, other than this is great, this is wonderful, this is also terrifying all at the same time. My ex-husband made it very clear if he ever found me with another man, again, regardless of cheating or not, he would come and kill me. He made it very clear that there was no divorce, there was only death. And honestly, I could tell that he was catching on to something. But using work as an excuse was good enough for me right now, and I just tried my best to enjoy the moment. The next day, I left around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was the hardest goodbye ever. I checked out of the hotel, I went to a local gas station, grabbed some lunch, put gas in the car. It was the longest goodbye I had ever had. We did not want to say goodbye. He looked at me straight up and said, maybe you should just work here in New Jersey. Maybe you should just stay here in New Jersey. And I was like, but I have a life. I have a husband. I have a brother. I have I have this life in Maryland. So on my way home, he sent me a lovely song, just like he always did. He always sent me songs for me to listen to. And you could kind of tell that that's just what he was feeling. And this time it was a song about being apart and how, he'll do his everyday things, but he just wants to be with me. So I'm driving home to Maryland and I made another prayer. Mom, I said I needed a better job, a better husband, a better life, a better everything. And honestly, you got me the better job. But give me a sign, any sign, that I need to just leave Maryland, call it a day, move to New Jersey. Like, seriously, what do I have left in Maryland? My mom had passed away. Yes, I had a husband, but why am I caring for him all the time? No one's caring for me. No one's taking care of me. I'm taking care of everybody else. So, how about this? How about I go take care of myself and leave the baggage behind? And I get home and we had these two dogs. We had this old English bulldog that constantly bit us. And for years, my mother would say, you got to get rid of that dog. And no matter how many times I would speak with my ex about it, he just loved that dog so much. But I mean it. When I mean we were being bitten, it was like a monthly occurrence that one of us was getting bit. At one point, my ex had gotten bit so bad in his arm that the dog tore some tendons and everything. We did everything we could to make sure the, Humane Society did not get involved. But at the same time, he was dangerous. And I don't know how many times I had said, please get rid of this dog. I'm 100 pounds maybe soaking wet, and that dog's 80 pounds soaking wet. There was one time it actually charged and attacked me while I was home all by myself. I even called my dad to put the dog down. He said, sorry, I can't do that because I might get charged with some sort of animal cruelty. And I couldn't argue with it. So I got home, I unloaded my luggage, and I went to take a nap on the couch. Because honestly, I maybe had 8 hours of sleep the whole week I was gone. And so I took a nap on the couch next to the dogs. And a few hours later, I wake up. And I was on this recliner, and it really had a hard time coming back up. So I tried to lift myself back up, and it must have startled that old English bulldog. That dog flipped around, started gnawing on my forearm. As I was trying to, get the dog to stop eating me, my ex-husband then tackles the dog to the ground and keeps him from attacking me more. As my arm is gushing blood, I literally looked at him and said, I don't know how many times I've told you. It's either me or the dog. You gotta get rid of this dog. And he said, but I just love the dog too much. I said, fine, then it's me or the dog. And he was just like, what? And I said, I didn't stutter. And I went to the bathroom to clean the wound. I took a picture of it. I sent it to my guy from work. And I said, yeah, I think I'm done here. I'm going to figure something out, but I have to leave. I have to leave him. There's an old proverb out there about a guy who's stuck on a roof and it's flooding. And someone in a boat comes to save him with a life raft. And he said, no, 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 it's okay. God will save me. And then another person comes in a helicopter and he goes, no, 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 God will save me. And another person comes and he says, no, 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 God will save me. And then he gets to heaven and he looks at God and he says, God, why didn't you save me? And he said, God says to the man, well, I sent you a life raft and a boat and a helicopter. What more did you want me to do? And all I could think of was not only of this proverb, but how I had literally just prayed to my mother on the way home, saying, give me a sign that I should pack everything and go. And I just thought to myself, here's your sign. My ex-husband also was very aware that we were having problems and that I was no longer happy. And there is a Christian book out there called Fireproof, where over a matter of 40 days and 40 nights, you're supposed to do one thing a day in this like kind of marital diary. But you're not supposed to tell your spouse that you're doing it. You're just supposed to do it. And by the end of the 40 days, it's like God ends up speaking to the both of you, and you both end up back together again and trying to heal your marriage. We had tried doing that at one point, and I kind of felt like it probably did help, but not fully. Maybe it helped me in being more compassionate and patient with the things that were going on, but I was at a point now of just kind of a point of no return. You had threatened me about leaving you for anyone else. You've told me that there is only one way out of this marriage, and that's death. You continue to do drugs. You haven't weaned yourself off of the methadone at all. Because of that methadone, you can't drive, and you make it clear that you also can't work a full-time job because you're on too much methadone, and that you can only do so much a day, leaving me to always pick up the pieces. From day one, that's the way it's been. I've just had enough. I can't keep doing this for everyone anymore. All of a sudden, I start seeing flowers on the table. And then another little nice text message just checking in to see how I'm doing. And I know that he's doing the stuff from that Fireproof book because I've done it before. But I also know because he ends up telling me that he's doing it. And I look at him and said, that defeats the purpose. You're not actually supposed to tell your spouse that you're doing this. You're supposed to do it on your own. And then you're supposed to hope and pray that they will find it in their heart to forgive you and to want to heal this marriage. But up front, he was like, I'm doing this Fireproof book. Look, I'm trying to save our marriage. But by this point, I was done. There was no point of return. My guy from the fireworks company even said to me, I don't want to be the cause of your marriage failing. I don't want to be the reason why you leave him. I told him flat out, you might be a good reason to leave him, but you're not the reason why I'm leaving him. There's already been so much going on. There's already been too much damage caused. My sister would even help get him to the methadone clinic in the mornings sometimes to help give me a little bit of a break, especially on some days when he wasn't working so early in the morning. I would be able to sleep in. He would then get a ride from my sister. And my sister would often ask him, so, how's she doing? Knowing that I was still just as skinny, knowing my past problems with an eating disorder, my sister didn't see much of a change in me other than for being very skinny, very depressed, and not very happy. And he would just go, oh, she's fine. She's doing great. Is she eating? Oh, yeah, she's eating. But in reality, I was eating maybe once a day because we didn't have any money for food. For some reason, once again, we're back to the point where we have 3 people working in our household. But I can't seem to pay the bills. I can't seem to pay the rent. And I am not going out blowing money. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Over the next few weeks, my guy from the fireworks company would come down and spend Labor Day weekend with me. And I would say, oh, I have to work fireworks. I have to go. Or I have to go work a fireworks shoot, but I'll be back that night. And I would go hang out with him or have a romantic weekend away. And I finally decided, that's it. I've had enough. I don't want my marriage anymore. And I was trying to find every way that maybe I could just stay in Maryland, keep my job, and get rid of him. But the more that I thought about it, the worse it just got. One day, I was driving him to the methadone clinic, and he tried to have sex with me in the car and tried raping me. I kicked him off of me, got him into the methadone clinic. He starts to fight with me again on the way to his work. He tries to rape me again in front of his work in our car. I finally kick him out. And when he walks into the store, I drive away. And I get a call immediately. You have to come back, and you have to come back now. Like, I'm not coming back for you. You go to work. No, I just lost my job. What are you talking about? I just lost my job at this restaurant. They didn't renew the lease. They're notifying everyone today. They said to apply for unemployment. Okay. So I turn around at 7 o'clock in the morning and I go to get him and I go to take him home. And my mind is just a whirlwind of just what the heck had happened this morning. He tried raping me twice in the car. He keeps screaming at me, why don't I want him anymore? He just lost his job. I could barely think straight. And also, I'm hungry. I just want some food. I want to get some breakfast or something. I couldn't even afford that. We're driving down the road. I'm doing like 55 miles an hour down this highway. And he says to me, do you know where this restaurant is? I want to go apply there. And I said, honestly, I couldn't tell you right now. I don't know. And he proceeds to throw my head into the steering wheel while I'm driving 55 miles an hour down the road. And after slamming my head into the steering wheel, he says, you know, I moved here for you. I don't know anything about around here. I don't know anybody. So the least you could do is tell me where this restaurant is. I just said to him, I don't know. When you get home, Google it. I don't know what to tell you right now. I got him home and I got to work with just a few minutes to spare. And we had this company-wide meeting that we did like once a week. And I needed to enter something into the inventory system. But my mind was so jacked up and jumbled, I couldn't even tell you how to do it. A function that I did every single day, like the back of my hand, that I could do in my sleep, I could not figure out how to do in that moment. And so I called my guy and said, hey, I need you to do me a favor. Can you enter this thing into our inventory system? And he said, you don't sound so good. I said, I've really had a bad morning. I can't talk about it right now. We have to get on this company meeting. I was like, can you please just enter this in for me? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we have our meeting. And I guess during the meeting, he could tell in my voice something still wasn't right. And so he sent me a private text message that said, call me on my personal cell phone when this meeting is done. When the meeting was done, I called him on his personal cell phone and I told him what happened. And he said to me straight up, you have 1 week to get your stuff and get up to New Jersey. If you don't leave him, I will come down there. I will call the cops and I will have you dragged out of that apartment and I will take you back to New Jersey myself. Reach out to the owner, ask for a transfer, tell him what happened. I was like, okay. Later that afternoon, I went for a drive so no one would hear me. And I called the owner and I explained my situation. And I said, I very much need a transfer, but I don't have any money. And he said, when can you leave? I said, I could probably leave on Friday. He said to me, okay, get up here. Use the company credit card to get a hotel room for while you're here. I'll loan you the money to get an apartment. Just get up here and get up here safely. My only stipulation was that I didn't want anyone in my office to know what was going on at that moment. My ex-husband had a really funny way of trying to find things out, and some of which could be very threatening. So, whenever he went to somebody and said, do you know where she is? I wanted the answer to be, no, actually, I don't. I don't know what happened. So over the course of that final week, every day I would do a little something to pack up some stuff. One day I did a boatload of laundry and hid my clothes in the wheel well. And then I went to the office the next day and put the clothes in office boxes and made it look like I was taking office supplies up to New Jersey. Another day, I would take something else into work or an extra hoodie, things like that. Things that really meant a lot to me. I would hide somehow and get it into my office and then make it look like I was taking office supplies up to New Jersey. On the day that it came time for me to leave, I told my ex-husband that I was going to a fireworks shoot, dropping some stuff off at the New Jersey office, and that I would see him the next day. Don't worry, I'll be back in time to take you to your methadone appointment. I made sure my sister knew that I was leaving and why. Same with my brother. I drove up to New Jersey that afternoon, and when I knew that my brother was safely in someone else's car on his way to work, I sent my ex-husband a text message that said, "I'm not coming back. I'm leaving you." And then I turned off my phone. Soon as I got to my hotel room, I made sure that my guy knew. And he was there shortly after to hold me through the whole weekend as I sat there shaking with fear, hoping that my ex-husband would not come and find me and would not hurt me again.